pensions and higher wages and social spending, and then getting in power and having to turn around and implement cuts that go after those very things. What was that like, doing that in Greece?
Well, it was very difficult. But first of all, I think one of the similarities is that we took over from conservative governments here in the United States. It was actually the Democrats here that had a balanced budget, and I took over from a conservative, and they ran up this deficit. So I had to deal with this huge deficit, and I had to deal with the markets too. And the markets were really pounding on Greece. They wanted to see
they were asking for blood.
They were asking for blood, and this is where, of course, not only Greece but the European Union could have said, listen, sit down, we guarantee Greek bonds, let Greece make reforms, because, of course, we had to deal with the symptoms called the deficits. They're symptoms of a deeper problem, but I was able to deal with that. We didn't go bankrupt. That was going to be, you could die from symptoms. We didn't go bankrupt. We didn't leave the euro. We had to take difficult measures, but we wanted to go into deeper issues of how we make our economy sustainable. Greece has great potential. That's where I think Europe made wrong decisions as far as imposing too harsh austerity, and not only on Greece, but as a European-wide policy. And that, of course, was part of a policy which I had to follow in order to make sure that Greece stayed inside the euro and did not go bankrupt.
You talked about these similarities, and in terms of inheriting a balance sheet that was bequeathed to you by a center-right party, a center-right coalition that was actually wildly out of whack, right? One of the things that happens in American political context is Greece is a watchword on the American right. Because basically the idea is Greece was essentially a people that tried to basically lazily expand their welfare state. They blew up the entire country, and then they went bankrupt, and then they had crisis. And I want you to take a look, because this is what conservatives say the U.S. is and is becoming. And I want
which I disagree with.
Yes, I want you to respond to that. Right? Take a look.
Congressman Darrell Issa now warning if Congress doesn't take on spending, the country will go into a downward slide to make us like Greece.
What I'm looking for is to save Medicare and Social Security in the country from becoming Greece.
We look like Greece within 3 years. That alone makes us look a lot like Greece.
That puts us on a path to becoming Greece. The country's going to burn.
What do you think of that?
Well, I would say that the Republicans made the U.S. look more like Greece. The conservatives made the mess in Greece, and we're mopping up the mess. We have to deal with this crisis. Secondly, it's not the welfare state in Greece that was the problem. It was more of a crony kind of a capitalism, more of a clientelistic kind of a capitalism, where business and government were colluding to spend money in ways which helped, obviously, the richer, not necessarily the poor.
Interests.
I'm not saying that we didn't have to revamp our pension system. I'm not saying we didn't have to, be careful. But for example, I'll give you just an example. We had collusion of big pharmaceutical companies with doctors. There was corruption. They were giving extravagant medical prescriptions. We put everything online, despite the resistance of the doctors. They didn't want to use computers. We forced them, and we cut by 30% the medical bills. Now that means that that's good governance. So we need good governance, and that was the problem in Greece. It wasn't the welfare system. As a matter of fact, Brookings Institute comes out and says, if we were transparent and were able to hit tax evasion as, let's say, a country like in Sweden or the Scandinavians, we would gain 8% GDP. Now, that's not austerity. That is good governance. That's what we need.
One of the things that's happened in the wake of your government collapsing, and this is a really important thing, is the rise of a fascist party in Greece called Golden Dawn. I want to play some video of this. Do we have this video? Yes, we do. There it is. This is Golden Dawn marching through a market, smashing kiosks and demanding the papers of immigrant workers. 40 burly men, led by Georgios Jimenez, a lawmaker with the right-wing Golden Dawn party, marching through a night market in the town of Rafina, demanding dark-skinned merchants show their permits. This has come out of the rubble of the ruins of the crisis in Greece. And when I look at this, it's terrifying, because we all know about the rise of fascism in Europe in previous eras. What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, one of my first laws was an immigration law, which gave migrants that were staying in Greece the capability to become Greek citizens, or if they were born there also. So there was a reaction by some of the ultra right-wing parties. But I stayed the course on that. Secondly, this crisis has done two things. One is that, of course, there's huge unemployment because of the austerity, and I think this is where we would have wanted, in Europe-wide, to have a more humane and long-term consolidation of the budget rather than sort of deep cuts to be able to make the reforms. And secondly, we need just that sense of empowerment of our citizens. Now, these people feel disempowered, and they think that following, a dogma, a leader, a neo-fascist party, that they're getting power. That's, of course, an illusion. But it's terrible, and it's scapegoating what the real problems are.
You talked about balance. You can, a kind of way of projecting the budget in which you aren't imposing deep cuts, but you're getting towards balance in the future. That's the promise the president has made with his budget. I want to talk about whether that promise can be achieved. We're going to bring some other people in discussion right after this.